My name is Paul Andrews and I am Head of Sustainability at Finnebrogue. I've worked at Finnebrogue for about 2.5 years now, and I head up the sustainability strategy for the company.
Hello, my name is Sam Turner and I am the Sustainability Executive at Finnebrogue. I support Paul, who is the Head of Sustainability, in terms of enacting the bigger picture sustainability program that Finnebrogue has set out, which ranges from topics from carbon all the way to human rights due diligence. So who are Finnebrogue? So Finnebrogue are part of the Safina Food Group, and Finnebrogue is one of the UK and Ireland's leading food producers. We're renowned for our pioneering ham and bacon, which is made without nitrates. We craft some of the UK's best premium pork sausages, and we're also well known for developing innovative vegetarian product ranges for lots of the UK retailers. The company continues to set new standards in quality and innovation from its 4 sites in Downpatrick, County Down.
For Finnebrogue, the key benefits of improving resilience in our supply chain are fundamentally reducing risk, but also lowering the potential of supply chain disruption and increasing transparency. For Finnebrogue, sustainability and resilience in food production really go hand in hand. The food industry is fundamentally dependent on the natural world, from how and where crops are grown and how livestock is reared, to the materials that we use in our packaging, for example, or how ingredients are transported across the supply chain. Every link in that chain, it depends on natural resources and healthy ecosystems. As such, if we can improve the sustainability of our suppliers and our supply base, they naturally become more resilient. This reduces the risks and decreases the vulnerability of our supply chains to climate-related shocks. Another key benefit in improving supply chain resilience and sustainability is meeting our customer expectations on sustainability and also improving supply chain management and transparency.
Finnebrogue's main resilience strategies started with the conduction of a materiality assessment to understand risks within our supply chain as well as our own operations. The materiality assessment was a questionnaire that we sent to our internal and external stakeholders, and it really allowed us to have a base level of understanding and mapping of the severity and of risks within our supply chain as well as our operations. From that, we then started to measure those salient risks. The first way we measured this was through the SESA, which is our way of measuring our supplier sustainability maturity. So it stands for Supplier Environmental and Social Assessment. The assessment basically asks questions to our suppliers on a range of ESG topics, from carbon emissions to biodiversity to human rights, and all the way on to packaging and deforestation. And it really allows us to kind of again map where there's potential risks within our supply chain. Furthermore, we went through a process of measuring and calculating our Scope 3 emissions, as well as mapping country of origins of the goods that we and raw materials that we purchase as a business, which again further allows us to map those risks. Because the classic saying is, if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. So that was really the base load there. From that, we were able to use that data to drive sustainable decision making throughout the business. And the methodology we used was we started a supplier engagement team, which is a cross-departmental team which brings in members of technical, members of new product development, members of procurement, as well as ourselves in sustainability, and allows us to make decisions on supplier selection, for example, or ingredient selection. And we're able to use data with regards to sustainability to make those decisions and empower sustainable decision making. As well as that, we've been able to implement processes within certain departments which again empower sustainable decision making, such as prospective supplier questionnaires and the rollout of supplier sustainability expectations for incumbent suppliers of ours. And it's all kind of been able to bundle up a way of making sure that our processes and our decision making is driven by data, which can then allow us to create a more resilient supply chain. So, as well as all this work contributing to Finnebrogue's ability to manage supply chain risks, there's also been other benefits to our wider sustainability goals under the Bigger Picture program. So the key one really would be our Scope 3 emissions. The communication with suppliers through the supplier engagement team and the collection of data through the CESA has enabled us to get more accurate Scope 3 data, but also set expectations for us to have our supply chain working towards net zero futures. It's opened a lot of doors in terms of general sustainability transparency. We're able now to speak to suppliers on a sustainability level, which means that they bring to us stuff that they're working on, which is really exciting and in some respects quite warming in a way. So like, for example, just today we were speaking with one of our herb suppliers who happened to be actually the winners of our sustainability supplier awards. And they were talking to us today about how their farming techniques are reducing nitrates within the soil, or reducing the amount of nitrates that are put on the soil, for example, and how they're making sure that the aromatics they worked with in terms of the unique flavors are being conserved for future generations. And it's stories like that we're now being able to tap into with our suppliers and bring to our customers and bring to the consumer, to say, like, there are cases where the supply chain is already sustainable. So overall resilience, this strategy on resilience has really just been able to open communication channels with our suppliers beyond procurement, beyond technical requirements, and beyond MPD. It's more sustainable innovation, for example.
So building supply chain resilience obviously doesn't come without its challenges. As I mentioned, the food industry is quite complex and has become quite global as well in certain commodities. I suppose a challenge for Finnebrogue is that we work with all sorts of different size companies. We work with some large suppliers, we work with some medium and small enterprises as well in terms of sourcing ingredients, and those come with different challenges. With medium and smaller suppliers, the challenge is sometimes data, but also resource. Sam and I would regularly meet with some of our smaller suppliers to provide them with sustainability education and training, and help them on the journey. If ultimately, Finnebrogue isn't an island. In order for us to make more sustainable products, we need to source more sustainable ingredients. So we can't do this alone, and we need the entire industry that we work with to move with us and to become more sustainable and therefore more resilient as well. We also work with some large suppliers, and that again has its challenges. Sometimes the supplier is actually a bigger business than Finnebrogue is, so they're the Goliath and we're the David in that situation. And even though we would set quite high sustainability expectations on our suppliers, occasionally a larger supplier may not be on that journey, but we may be a small proportion of their business, and therefore it's more difficult for Finnebrogue to influence a larger business to work in a certain way to meet not only Finnebrogue's expectations but our retail customers' expectations. So actually occasionally larger suppliers can be more of a challenge. At Finnebrogue, we're strengthening the resilience of our business and supply chains by ensuring the supply base operates more sustainably. By working hand in hand with our suppliers to improve the sustainability of our ingredients in our products, Finnebrogue is helping to drive positive and lasting change across the food industry. while reducing the risk of supply chain disruption.